Welcome to the Complete Story series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites. You see, at this channel, we like to tell you what is going on in current day pop culture, allowing you to go out and watch the next episode of a TV show, or go read the next issue of a comic book, or buy the next game in a game series. Today, we're going to be continuing our storyline of Aquaman Underworld, and when we last left off, everyone at Atlantis had assumed that Arthur Curry had died, but he had actually fallen to the Underworld, where he was gathering a rebellion to retake the throne, but he couldn't have the throne. He didn't want to be the king again. Instead, it was decided that Mera would be the queen of Atlantis, but she is currently injured and had to go to the mainland to heal up. This is Mera's part of that story. It was another night in Louisiana as Orm sits with the young boy Tommy, telling him the stories of a world where he used to live. Tonight's story was Atlantis, and how he hurled the giant kraken sword back into the maelstrom it spawned from to save the people of Atlantis. However, something different happened this night when Orm put Tommy to bed. Tommy said goodnight to Dad. Orm smiled as he went back down the stairs, telling Aaron, Tommy's mother, what he said. As Orm kisses Aaron on the cheeks, he says that it's so great to hear, and then he begins to help her with the dishes. This was not the life Orm thought that he would have, living on land, staying with the dry mouths. He first met Aaron when he was on his way back to the ocean. He saved their lives and stayed to protect them, but it was only supposed to be temporary. Even though the call of the sea never fades, this time it's not as loud as it used to be. While Orm helps Aaron clean up, he overhears the news of the attack in Amnesty Bay. The report says that the target of this attack was apparently Mera, the so-called mermaid wife of Arthur Curry, the Aquaman. Rumors suggest that there is political strife and perhaps a civil war underway in Atlantis, with concerns that the trouble may spread onto US soil. As the report goes on, Orm clenches his glass, breaking it in his hand. Aaron runs over asking if everything's okay. Sometimes she forgets how superhuman he really is. Was it something on the news that upset him? And Orm says no, it just took him by surprise. She tells him that the news mentioned trouble in Atlantis. Is he not tempted to go back, to go and get involved? But he tells her not to fret. His life is here with Tommy and her. But 6 hours earlier, Mera was facing off against this attacker, the eel. It wasn't long ago that Mera returned to the surface to recover from an injury that she sustained while attempting to free Arthur from the magic imprisoning the people of Atlantis. The magical barrier was taken down, and Mera was able to return to the surface, but the magic affecting her had drained her powers, so much so that she couldn't even breathe underwater. At her peak, a fight with the eel would have been over in seconds, but with her powers in a state of healing, even the eel is proving to be a struggle. The eel smacks Mera down, asking if that's the best she's got. He's heard that she was supposed to be tough, like Justice League tough. She tries to get back up, but the eel picks her up, throwing her into the water, telling her that this is the easiest money that he has ever made. She begins to swim back up to the surface, but before she can reach it, Eel dives in, holding her underwater, choking her, squeezing out every last bit of air that she has, and everything begins to go black. The water is supposed to be her home. She should feel alive here. It is the place where she spent her life growing up to kill Arthur. But that's when she realized that he was the one man that she truly loved. Her father, the king of Xebel, raised her to be an assassin under the watchful eye of warlord Nereus and the master of arms Liron. Liron would train her day in and day out, faulting her for relying too heavily on her powers. He would overpower her, telling her how weak she was for having to even use her powers. He taught her all the skills of war, the blade, the fist. She should be able to win without powers. As Mera opens up her eyes, she sees that she is still underwater, and Liron's lessons have served their purpose. She easily deflects Eel's oncoming attack, throwing him onto the pier's support, bringing down the dock. Tula, the woman who was supposed to be keeping Mera in bed, runs out shouting, "Holy crap, you shouldn't be fighting!" Mera lifts Eel out of the water, telling her that she isn't the one who started it. Later, in the lighthouse, Superman and Wonder Woman say that they have Eel secured, but who would plan an attack like that? Mera sighs, stating that she would imagine Eel was hired by her enemies in Atlantis. Quorum Wrath won't openly attack her on land, but instead hire a surface agent, and that would be how he would murder the Queen of Atlantis. Superman and Wonder Woman ask her, "Queen?" And Mera tells them yes. To her surprise, she has been declared Queen in exile. Once that monster Wrath is overthrown, she is to be the next ruler of Atlantis. Wrath seized power by exploiting the people's dissatisfaction with Arthur's split loyalty for both Atlantis and the surface world. Arthur is currently in lead of a revolt now, but he refuses to take back the throne once Wrath is gone. What's worse is there's no way that they could involve the surface heroes in this. Atlantis is fighting a civil war to figure out its own identity, so until that's resolved, her mission is to keep the world calm while the events play out underneath the ocean. Tula whispers that they've got to tell them, so Mera sits back down and Tula explains that Mera isn't going down there because she was hurt when she went to Atlantis. There is magic lingering in her that is making her weak, but her powers will return in due time. Wonder Woman says that she's so sorry. What will she do while in exile? And Mera says that she didn't want to become queen, and she doesn't plan on staying queen longer than she has to. The elders will eventually find a more suitable replacement, but until then, she needs to keep the surface at bay until the crisis in Atlantis is resolved. And while Mera meets with the Secretary of State for the US, the life of Orm starts to become harder to bear. As he watches Aaron and Tommy play in the rain, with water falling from the sky and landing, that is something that he'll never get used to. As Orm looks out the window, he knows that he won't be able to stay here for much longer. It's going to be time for him to go. The next morning, Tommy wakes up and runs out of his room with his fishing pole, ready to tell Orm that he's ready. Aaron wakes up and she hears Tommy. But the other thing that she notices is that the other side of her bed is empty and cold. Aaron hurries down the stairs asking what's going on, and Tommy says that Dad was supposed to teach him how to fish today, but he's not here. Aaron looks over and sees a note, and when she reads it, Orm tells her there was a matter of great significance that he must deal with. His other family needs him for a while, but if fortune favors him, he shall return. Aaron tells Tommy that Daddy has to go out, but he'll be back soon. Over at Amnesty Bay, Mera awakens to hear a scream coming from inside of the lighthouse. She runs out asking what's wrong, and Tula says that he was here. He said that he'd come find her. Mera says who, and Tula points at the door stating, "Your half-brother Orm." Mera walks down to the shore where Orm is, but before she can say anything, he says, "Hello, Mera of Xebel." After pausing for a moment, Mera asks, "What do you want?" He hasn't seen the stench of the ocean in a long time. She looks well. She asks again why he's here, and Orm says that he saw her on the news. He heard them speak of discord in Atlantis. Is it true? Is Arthur slain? Mera tells him that Arthur is alive but dethroned. He's fighting a war against Coram Wrath. Orm looks out over the sea, stating that it's clear that he must go back. "Atlantis is my home. It needs me, though I would not return to it by choice. The surface is my life now. Isn't that strange? I have found a life, a love, a family. It is a shame to give that up." Mera sees the joy in Orm's eyes and says that this is not a side of him that she would have guessed existed. He laughs. "Surprises me still. To find true love in the dry heat of the surface world I so despise. But as a man of royal blood, I am bound by my duty to return." Mera thinks back to the war for the throne and the things that Orm did and says perhaps Atlantis does not need his help. Orm asks, what right does she have to address him in such manner? "Xebelin, you're not helping by being here." She tells him that she has her reasons and is doing her part here, but he should go back to his family that he claims to cherish. Atlantis isn't his home anymore. Atlantis already has someone. She is the queen. As those words sink in, Orm yells, "No! No! By whose authority? You're not even Atlantean." Mera says perhaps not, but she was chosen and named queen in exile according to tradition. She'll return to Atlantis and rule once the war is finished. Until then, she stands there to protect Atlantis and its interests from external threats. Don't get dragged into the chaos of Atlantis again. Last time he was exiled. Now he has something. Go back to your happy life. Mera reaches out telling him to wait, but Orm spins back, hitting Mera, shouting, "Get your peasant hands off me!" Using what power she has, she leaps from the water, striking Orm down, yelling, "How dare you strike a queen!" Before Mera could finish him, her powers fade again. So he picks himself up asking, "Are you holding back? Do you assume that I can be defeated that easily?" But that's when Tula jumps on Orm's back, slamming his face into the water, shouting, "Get back, she's hurt!" Orm knocks Tula off, asking, "What do you mean Mera is hurt?" So Mera punches him, telling him, "It's only temporary." The two go back and forth, with Mera knocking Orm down and telling him to just stay down. "Atlantis has a monarch. It's me, and I forbid you from getting involved." Orm stands up, shouting in rage, "You forbid me? You are nothing. I am the Ocean Master." Lightning strikes as Orm begins to create typhoons and launches Mera into the heart of it. Tula rushes in to help, but Orm tells Mera that she knows nothing about duty. "You Xebelin vermin! Atlantis calls me! I will save it!" As the waves die down, Orm holds his trident to Mera's throat, stating that she has seized this moment to usurp the throne of Atlantis for Xebel. The oldest enemy of Atlantis will not win through subterfuge. It's time things were ended once and for all. He raises his trident, but before he can strike, a voice calls out, "Dad?" Orm freezes. He looks up and he sees Tommy running towards him, asking, "What are you doing?" Tommy stumbles as he tries to go through the waves, shouting, "Daddy, please don't hurt her!" And Mera leans up quietly, telling Orm, "Not in front of your son, Orm." Orm looks at Eren and she asks, "What the hell is happening?" Orm tells both of them, "I don't expect you to understand. I have a duty to Atlantis. It is my responsibility as royal blood." Tommy asks, "It's your duty to hurt people? Why are you dressed like that?" Orm doesn't answer and Eren says it's because he's going back. She knew he'd come here. When she saw how upset he got about the news, that stupid note. He promised that he would stay. He said he loved them. Orm's confused. "Please, let me explain. I do love you, but my kingdom." Eren shouts over him, telling him, "You told me what being a king did to you. It wasn't good." Orm tries to tell her, "The duty, I have to." But Eren stops him again. "You have a duty to us. We were going to be married. Are you really choosing Atlantis over us? Why? Why aren't we good enough for you?" A short while later, Tula plays with Tommy outside, leaving Mera, Orm, and Eren to discuss things. Mera tells Eren that she doesn't have to worry. Tula will take care of her son while they figure this whole thing out. Orm says of course she will. Tula is his half-sister. Eren turns back asking, "You're what? After all this time, I still don't know a damn thing about you. For God's sake, your sister? Why haven't you told me these things? Is it because it would be difficult for us to understand?" Orm tells her, "When you are royal blood, there's a solemn burden of duty, a responsibility that..." Mera interrupts him, stating, "Allow me. A tyrant named Coram Wrath has seized the throne of Atlantis. The people are trying to overthrow him. The nation itself is divided. Our kin below are dying. It's brutal, bloody, and awful." Eren then asks, "This is why he must go? Is he going to help?" "Yes, Orm. Tell us, how can you help?" Orm sighs. "I am uncertain. I would first have to see the situation at hand and make a judgment call. All I know is that it is my duty." Eren gets up, throwing her drink at him. "God damn it! That word! I understand duty. It's to family, to the ones you love. Your duty is to Tommy and me, but you make that sound like an excuse." Mera stands up. "This is different. Duty is ingrained into someone of royal lineage. It was bred into them from birth. They're indoctrinated with the concept of a higher purpose. When I was raised, I had a tutor. He instructed me in their people's traditions and made me study the old texts and ancient lore day after day, all to prepare me, as the Princess Xebel, to place the throne above all other concerns. When the warlord Nereus, on orders from my father the king, sent me to kill the king of our oldest enemies, I did not hesitate." Eren asks, "What happened after that?" Mera smiles. "I couldn't do it. I found the enemy king and he was not the monster that I expected. I fell in love with him. Our bond overcame all notions of duty. She is not at Arthur's side because she can't be. She was wounded, her powers are slowly returning, but they're still unpredictable." Eren then says she understands Mera's reasoning, but what about Orm's? He doesn't live in the ocean anymore. Orm tells her that if the civil war spreads, it will trigger a global conflict. It could affect the whole world, it could affect you. She says that she's starting to understand, but if it's that important, why were they fighting? Shouldn't they be working together? Mera laughs out loud and Eren says, "Well, why not? It's important to both of you. You could work together for the common good, for duty, as Orm puts it." Eren then says that they should at least talk it out. "When Atlantis is safe, you can come back to me." Mera and Orm look at each other and Mera says, "Two of us have history." Tells them to consider it. Talk to each other, please. She's gonna go check on Tommy. A short while later, along the coast, Orm asks Tula if she believes that Mera and him can work together. Is it even possible? Tula says that she's not sure. Mera right now is trying to avoid global involvement. Orm tells her that that is a feasible course. A more direct approach is needed. But to weigh in on Arthur's side, they need an army. Not an army from the surface, but there is one ally that she can call upon. Tula thinks about it for a second and then yells, "Mera is not going to like that." A short while later, Tula asks Mera if she's sure about this, and she says, yes, they must go to Xebel. Mera and Tula watch as Orm says his goodbyes with the promise of soon returning, and with that, they dive into the waters. Mera leads Orm to the ancient barrier that protects Xebel, the shuttered kingdom of exiles. As soon as they pass, Orm sees the guards swimming towards them, stating, "Ah, they welcome us." And one of the guards shouts, "Invaders, get them both!" Mera then begins to use her powers, telling Orm to remember, subdue them. Orm bashes one, stating, "They raised a hand to me, an example must be made." He raises his trident, but Mera swims over, telling him, "No, these guards are just doing their duty, they must." But just then, the both of them are hit with an equally powerful blast from behind, down on the sea floor. Mera says that she warned him. They mustn't ignore their customs or provoke them. "I'm pretty sure that we're past that, Lady Mera." All of the Xebel forces begin to surround them, and Liron says, well, King Nereus, look what the tide has washed in." Nereus tells him, "Indeed, my arch enemy, Orm Marius, and my traitor wife, Mera." There you have it. We have Orm the Ocean Master and Mera going to Xebel to find more people to help with the rebellion. It's going to be epic. And if you subscribe to our channel, you'll get the next part of this storyline next week. And then we're going to be concluding the whole storyline when Mera and Arthur team up once again. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about the Aquaman movie. For me, I really did enjoy it. I thought some of the dialogue was a little funny and the Pitbull song was, well, just why. But overall, I did enjoy that movie. Don't forget, you can also find us over on patreon.com/Comicstorian, where we continually bring you extra content to basically you help us by giving us $1 a month. We give you a ton of extra content. It's a nice give and take situation, and I do appreciate everyone who goes over there. I'll see you next time right here at Comicstorian.